Hi friends, Shayla here. So 2021 is starting off with a bang. I already have 4 5-star reads, so I wanted to do a video dedicated to these 4 5-star reads. So let's talk about some amazing books. All of them are romances. Sorry, I haven't read too much fantasy yet this year, but I am excited to talk to you about all of these. So I have 2 from one author, so I'll start with those and then we'll get into the others. Some of them are newly out or coming out soon, and others have been out for a little while. So I think it's 2 and 2 that way. So 2 were arcs, 2 were not. But one of them will already be out by the time you guys see this video because it's out tomorrow on filming, but it'll be a few days before you see this one. The first book we're gonna talk about today is Call Me Maybe by Cara Bastone. Now, this is an audiobook that I'm talking about, and there's a specific reason why I'm talking about this audiobook. This audiobook is an Audible original. It's a full cast. It's got sound effects. It's got the whole gambit. So it honestly sounds like you're watching a movie. It was really easy for me to picture everything that was going on, and the narration was fantastic. I really enjoyed both the voices that you're listening to, and once I get into the description of it, it'll make a little more sense as to why. All right, so in this book, we are following a woman named Vera. Vera is a woman who's about to get her dream job off the ground. She's supposed to be launching her website Friday morning, and I think this is Monday when it starts, and her website continues to crash and not work for what she needs it to. So she calls into customer service. She's been on hold for like 3.5 hours. She's driving in New York City, and all of a sudden, a nice baritoned man's voice picks up and answers, and she's like, okay, crap, don't hang up. I need to pull over. So she pulls over to the side of the road, boots up her laptop, and gets going with the customer service guy. The customer service guy happens to be Cal, and Cal isn't fully honest with who he is with Vera at the beginning, but there's a specific reason as to why that is. Anyways, they're on the longest customer service call ever, and it becomes much more casual, taking care of another person kind of a situation. And from there, it builds into a beautiful friendship that later, by the end, develops into a happy for now. And I really love how everything built on this story, because Cal tried to tell her who he really was several times throughout the week. So it wasn't a big surprise when she found out all the details. She was a little bit upset initially, but she understands his reasons why. It wasn't really a catfish. And it's really fun to watch the two of them develop this relationship. So her website that she's trying to launch is all about baskets. So a first date basket, a breakup basket. So for specific scenarios. And so he orders from her later in the week. The way they talk and their banter is so natural. The way the actors portrayed it was fantastic. I really loved everything about this. It was a beautiful listening experience. It was the first book I read for 2021. And I have no regrets. I started off the year with a 5-star read, and I absolutely adored it. So I highly recommend checking out this audiobook because it's one I haven't really heard people talking about. Granted, this isn't going to be super steamy. This is really sweet, really fun. Any romance reader could genuinely enjoy it, I think. And you see Vera's family dynamic a bit, and that's really lovely. And you see Cal and his lonely life because he's, the nerdy guy doing customer service from his home, and there are reasons for that as well. But yes, absolutely adored this. I really just, there's so much about it. Again, my Goodreads is always linked down below, and I did pretty thorough reviews for all of these. So you can always check those out if you feel like I'm not saying enough, because sometimes I stumble over my own words. So the next one I'm going to talk about is the one that I finished most recently because it's the other Cara Bastone. So this one is one that's coming out later this month, and that is called Flirting with Forever. This is book 3 in the Forever Yours series. I do recommend making sure you read book 2 before you read book 3 at least. I haven't read the first book in the series, but intend to read it soon. But I would definitely make sure you've read book 2 before you read book 3 because there's important characters that interact a lot with our characters in book 3 that you get to know in book 2. So with that said, let's get into this. So Mary, she is a woman who's 37, out there dating again. She hasn't been dating for a while after a really bad breakup with a man named Doug. Ugh, Doug. Anyways, nothing for people named Doug, but this particular character is just, ugh, he's bad. Anyways, so she has this sweet friend who wants to set her up with her son. And so this blind date is arranged. She shows up looking fierce, feeling good. And the first thing out of this guy, John's mouth is, I was expecting someone younger. So she, with all her insecurities of being 37 and dating, takes that the wrong way. The way he meant it was his mother had described her as like fun and bubbly and young and deciding to go back to school, things like that. So he thought she was like in her mid-20s. So that was all he was meaning, but he has very notorious foot and mouth disease. When he is around a beautiful woman, he gets really nervous, he clams up, he gets anxious, and the wrong things come out of his mouth. And he ends up sounding like a dick a lot of the time. So Mary was the last character. Mary promptly puts him in his place and leaves the restaurant. So we love Mary for that. She's standing up for herself. All the meantime, he's feeling like a pile of garbage because he knows he said the wrong thing. And it's just bad. They both make really bad assumptions about each other, kind of in a Pride and Prejudice kind of way. So from there, John's mother finds out that things didn't go well, and she immediately drags him there to apologize to her because Mary is so nice that if Mary didn't have fun, it's John's fault. And so, like, he gives her a very genuine apology about what happened. And from there, they start to form a friendship. It blossoms into a beautiful, healthy relationship. It does take place over basically an entire summer, so there are months between the meeting and, you know, the actual, like, happy for now kind of situation. And I absolutely adore the way this story was built. It didn't feel like it dragged anywhere. And throughout the story, you have each of them with feelings for each other, but they either overhear or misinterpret something the other person said in a way that legitimately would make sense as to why they didn't take that next step until they sat down and cleared the air between the two of them. And this does have 2 or 3 more graphic sex scenes. They're all towards the end of the book. So you're not really going to get the sexy times till about 70% through. So I'm going to warn you of that right now. If you're expecting it to be steamy all the way through, that's not going to happen because she's 37, he's 31, so it's an older woman, younger man situation. I mean, they're at an age where that doesn't really matter so much, but she's already insecure about her age thanks to her meddling and manipulative mother who is passive-aggressively, like, not a great person. So just know that, like, be warned that the mom's gonna be horrible the whole way through. So yes, I absolutely love and adore both Mary and John as characters. I love this friend group so much. There's a lot of other things going on, obviously, and I don't want to spoil them for you, but I highly recommend checking out this series. It's Forever Yours by Cara Bastone. The first book is called Just a Heartbeat Away. Book 2 is Can't Help Falling, and then this one was Flirting with Forever. So these last 2 are historical romances. The first one I have a physical copy of, and then the other was an ARC. So the first one is To Beguile Beast by Elizabeth Hoyt. This is definitely a strongly inspired by Beauty and the Beast style story in which we're following Sir Alistair Munro, and he is such a swoon-worthy hero. He is the grumpy, curmudgeon-y man who is physically scarred after an incident in the war. He was a POW. There was some torture at hand. He lost one of his eyes, and there's significant scarring on that side of his face. And what happens is there's a woman named Helen. She was a mistress for a long time, and she had 2 children with this duke who had her as a mistress. And what happens from there is she's done. He hasn't come to her bed in a long time. She doesn't want to be a possession to him. And so she takes matters into her own hands. She takes off and ends up basically forcing herself to be the housemaid of Sir Alistair. So she's got her and her 2 kids there. He agrees to shelter them for the night, but they'll have to be gone by morning. But instead, she's like, nope, your castle needs me. I'm going to stay. And so from there, we have their friendship developing. He is absolutely such a marshmallow with her children. It's adorable. And then early on in this novel, his dog, Lady Grey, she passes away. She was elderly. She was having a hard time getting up the stairs, things like that. And So what this man does is he goes out in the pouring rain to buy a dang puppy because the kids were so devastated over the loss of his dog. And he comes back basically catching his death because he's soaking through with this tiny puppy in his arms. And that was the moment I was gone for Alistair Monroe. But he is fiercely protective of her. He is fiercely protective of the kids. And I absolutely adore it. We get in Abigail's perspective for portions of the book. She's 9. But I don't feel like she is aged up too hard and she's not obnoxious. I believe that everything that she was saying was appropriate for her age and appropriate for her circumstances. So this was brilliantly written, so smutty, so swoon-worthy. I love it so much. So he's fiercely protective of her, fiercely protective of the kids, and realizes the joy that they all bring into his life. It's beautiful. I love this so much. I love Elizabeth Hoyt's writing. It's easily accessible for a historical. You're not bogged down by too much description. But man, the characters, I immediately fell in love and was rooting for the characters from page 1. I loved this so very much. Then again, I just stan most Beauty and the Beast retellings, so that might be part of it. But either way, I love it so very much. Please, please, please read more Elizabeth Hoyt. Definitely expect to see more Elizabeth Hoyt on this channel for 2021. All right, so the last book on this list is Someday My Duke Will Come by Christina Britton. This is book 2 in the Isle of Sin series. And this book is beautiful. I don't remember loving book 1 quite as much. I kind of want to reread it now that I've read book 2 and see if my perspective has changed because I've read a lot more historicals since I read the first book, and I do think that's changed how I look at historicals. So Quincy is the kind of hero that I absolutely love and adore. He ran away from his home as a teenager when his mother wanted to ship him off into the Navy and sell him to the Navy, essentially. So he takes matters into his own hands, boards a ship to the Americas, ends up meeting his best friend, who is more like a brother than his 3 actual blood brothers. So when our best friend from the previous book meets the love of his life, Quincy meets the ever lovely Clara, who is 30, unmarried, and absolutely beautiful. Lady Claire Ashford, of course, has been mother to her younger sister since she was like 9. As a teen, she had a moment of rebellion and made a bad mistake. A guy took advantage of her, and she had a child out of wedlock, and the child was stillborn. So trigger warnings for all of that kind of stuff. So after that point, she decides to never marry, take on the spinster life, and just take care of her family. What she doesn't expect is to have romantic feelings for Quincy. And from there, they both enter a fake engagement kind of situation to help both of them, because he finds out when he comes back to London for a visit that all 3 of his brothers have died in some way, and he is now the Duke. So he's trying to ease his way into the dukedom that was basically bankrupted by all of his selfish brothers and all these kinds of things. It's beautiful. I absolutely love and adore it. This story is so nuanced. I was swept away, and I really loved both of our characters so very much. And the moment when she tells everyone what happened when she was a young teen, because like her sister doesn't know, like nobody knows about what's happened, like other than I believe it was her father who's passed away now. But no one knew except him, and because he's the one who like sent her away while she was pregnant to have the baby and stuff and all those kinds of things. So it's heavy. It's a darker, more emotionally hitting historical than some of the books that I've talked about on this list. But man, it was beautifully written. I absolutely loved it and adored it. The cover is also absolutely stunning. And I really love how Quincy and Clara open up to one another slowly and have this beautiful building for their relationship. Like, it's stunning. I absolutely love and adore it. I want you guys to go and read it. Please, please, please. This one comes out on January 12th. So by the time you guys see this video, this will already be out. Please pick up a copy. Please support this publish. It's fantastic. I loved it so very much. So those are the 4 5-star books that I've read so far this year. And I've absolutely loved and adored each and every one. Obviously, let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these. And have you read any 5 stars yet in 2021? I will see you guys in the next one.